Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Dalton, and I ride and race bikes, and I talk about it right here on YouTube. On today's agenda, I've got something super cool for you. I've been itching to get out and race at the velodrome on the track, and I needed a single-speed fixed-gear bike. I have experience with state bicycles in the past. I have, I believe, the 4130 chromoly steel bike that you see up top here. I've used that in the past just as sort of a commuter to cruise around town, everything else, but I don't think it's necessarily what I was looking for the track. So I was looking for a budget option, aluminum, carbon fork, basically the same setup as my LA Sprint that I race crits with, and ultimately the idea was that I stayed under like $1,000, so I know budget is kind of ambiguous, and basically depending on your situation, budget can mean a lot of different things. I was looking at the Look 495, the Specialized LA Sprint track frame set, and quite a few others that were just running a lot more expensive than ultimately what I ended up going with. Now, I couldn't find a much better option than the State Black Label. This is the Black Label V2. They released an original version, but I think it was less like track ready, track friendly. I know State's done a lot to basically get this thing track ready out of the box. So first thing I want to do is I want to break down the components that come stock on the State, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into a couple things that I went ahead and upgraded just to make sure I was ready to go and hit the velodrome as soon as I start certification courses in the next couple weeks. First things first, I ordered a 59 just because I regularly ride like a 56, 57, and I usually have a pretty long stem on that to extend the reach. Now with track frame sets, the steer tube is typically a little bit different. Geometry of the bike overall is a little bit different. And if State was targeting a track frame set, then running a little bit bigger frame isn't necessarily a bad thing for somebody like me. Luckily, I do have a pretty long inseam, so a 59 was not a problem at all, and State did have them in stock. That brings me to my next interesting point though. State had them in stock only with a riser bar. They didn't actually come with drop bars. As soon as I selected the 38 centimeter compact drop bar, suddenly it was out of stock online. So State did go ahead and they sent me the bike with the riser bar, and I just went ahead and independently ordered the Zip Service Course SL80 bar, and it's an alloy bar, not too expensive. I ordered it on Amazon and it was here within a couple days. Actually beat the bike here, so I had all the components I needed rearing and ready to go. So didn't need these riser bars. I guess it's cool to have them in case I ever did want to flip-flop it and make it a city bike again, but for now it's going to be a track race machine. So I needed the 38 centimeter compact bars that I picked up from Zip. One thing that's particularly nice about this aluminum Black Label from State Bicycles is the carbon fork that is included with it. Now, that eases the ride a little bit on the front end. It's not so bad, a little softer, and it also sheds a little bit of weight that is just kind of unnecessary. Now, the rims on this thing, I'm not necessarily super excited about them. They're just some standard alloy rims, but I think that they're not a pressing issue that I need to go upgrade right now. I'll probably wait until I get like a decent carbon wheel set for the track, something deep dish that really makes sense. There's a lot more aero, and you know, when I start racing upper categories, when things start to maybe matter at higher speeds, then maybe that's a necessity. But for now, I figured what was on here would get me started. Now, I did want to say, when I received the bike, I was really not stoked on the rubber included, and I'm going to show you. These tires are extremely stiff. They have like zero flex to them. They are not soft whatsoever. They kind of just feel like crap in general, and to be honest with you, I just do not trust them. I run Vittoria Corsas on pretty much everything. Shout out Max for the recommendation. Those things grip like freaking glue to the road. I run them on my crit racing bike, my LA Sprint. I also run them on the Scott Plasma, which is hanging over here on the wall. That is my TT bike, and I have to say they have been my favorite tires thus far. I absolutely love them. The next key thing we want to talk about is actually the crank set. So, the State Black Label comes with a square taper bottom bracket. Now, this is pretty standard for track bikes to have a square taper bottom bracket, and you can swap most crank sets onto this. One thing that I might upgrade to in the long term is the Omnium, basically crank arms and crank set and crank spider and everything. But for now, this is a 144 bolt center diameter, so 144 BCD bolt pattern here, and that means that you can basically come back and swap pretty much any track chain rings that you want for a fixed setup like this will be compatible with the crank that comes stock on the Black Label. And I think that's something huge the state did. They knew that they were targeting this particular audience that might want to go race this thing, or at least might want to swap components in the future. And so they've done a great job in making this a 144 BCD setup. And if this starts to wear out pretty quickly, I don't really know how the quality of the chainring is going to be long term. Easily swappable, easy solution, not a problem there. Obviously, I have just the flat pedals on here. I cruised this thing to Chipotle earlier, so those are on there for now, but I will be swapping and putting my Favero Asioma power pedals on there. I run those on all my bikes. They're easily swappable. That's how I get my power readings. So I will be putting those on the track bike when I do decide that I'm gonna need to clip in and go race the velodrome. And next really important thing is the saddle that this thing comes with. So they shipped me the bike with this just Black Label basic saddle. I am not a big fan of this. I know it's supposed to be modeled after a particular physique saddle. I really don't like anything this long. I run snub nose saddles. They are just far more comfortable for me. I think it's a hip angle thing. These protrude way too far into certain regions and I really don't appreciate it. So I also wasn't really a big fan of whatever this weird felt thing is they have going on back here. I don't understand that. And then also the shape just does not look like it's gonna really do well with my sit bone structure. I know I've been running the Specialized Power saddle for quite a long time on the LA Sprint. Absolutely loved that saddle. So I went ahead and I swapped out this saddle that came with the bike with the Shimano Pro Stealth saddle because I've heard great things about that, and it's 142 millimeter width, which is about the same as 143 on the Specialized Pro Power saddle. I'm pretty confident that I know that that's going to fit my sit bones. When I did take this for a cruise earlier, it felt really good, so I'm pretty confident that that's going to suit my needs on the track. One more thing to talk about is the bars did not come taped. I have never taped bars on my own before, so today was the first time for everything. I actually went ahead and I picked up some Zip service course tape, and I love that stuff. I use actually the cyclocross tape on my LA Sprint for crit racing, but I just got regular service course tape for these bars, and let me tell you, I did a pretty decent job, I have to say, for my first time ever taping bars. I will let you guys be the judge. They might be a little uneven, but hey, if you can't notice, then nobody else is gonna notice, and if you do notice, then you're looking way too closely at my bike, so leave me alone. So a couple things that I wanted to talk about that I probably will upgrade in the future. I want to go back to the crank set. Now, the crank set, I'm not sure how long this is gonna last. I'm imagining the crank arms and everything are fine, but they seem extremely heavy, and eventually I'm gonna want some of the lightest components I can find for the track. So realistically, I will probably come back and get like the SRAM Omnium setup here with a different chain ring, maybe Aero chain rings, I'm not sure yet. I will take care of that though. Thinking ahead to the future, I know that I won't always necessarily be wanting to run the exact same rear cog, and I will definitely want some different gear ratios. So I went ahead, it's currently comes standard with a 16 in the rear, and I went ahead and grabbed a 15 and then also a 14, just so I have a little bit of range in the event that I do want to swap these out and put something else on the rear. And then one last thing that I do want to discuss that I have not yet swapped, but I really think I probably will swap this pretty soon, is going to be the stem. The State Black Label V2 comes with just a standard Black Label alloy stem. Now, that's totally fine, and the degree makes sense and whatever else. That's not a big deal. But I don't know what my fit is going to look like on the track. I don't know necessarily how I'm gonna ride yet. I don't even necessarily know how exactly you're supposed to ride. If you're more aero position, less aero position, the way that your back is supposed to be, my hip angle on this bike. A lot of things play into how I want this stem to look in the end. And so ultimately, I'm not sure that this stem is gonna stay. I am pretty confident that I will end up swapping it out, but that day does not need to be today. That can happen as I progress, as I get through the certification course at the velodrome, and as I get familiar with riding a track bike. I'm pretty sure I will probably dial that in, and I will understand that I need to swap it, or maybe leave it alone. But I would imagine I will probably change length, and also the degree. So that might be the next thing to go, actually. Well, folks, that's it. That is the breakdown of the State Black Label V2. That's the breakdown of the components that comes on it and a few things that I want to swap. Now, if you want to see the first ride on this when I do hit the velodrome in the next couple weeks, make sure to stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. If you like the video and you want to see more stuff like this, hit the like button and make sure to share it with everybody else on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you again soon. Get out there, ride your bike, enjoy the day, soak up some sun, and take care.